Alright, so this is a topic that I think will be relevant really for as long as major labels exist. So even though it happened a few months ago, I still think talking about it and bringing it back up every so often still matters. But the situation a few months ago with Reason and his and one of the label presidents at TDE who goes by the name Moosa, their whole I can't even call it an argument. I can't even call it an argument, but their whole back and forth was just a shining example, basically like a commercial, a brilliantly done unintentional commercial showing why artists shouldn't sign to any label and they are better off just staying independent. So if you don't know who Reason is a rapper from Carson, California, who signed to TDE back in 2018, which even saying that out loud is kind of crazy to me because I'm like, dang, like I really remember when it happened. So to think that 5 years flew by like that is kind of crazy to me. But still, he was a part of that newer wave of TDE artists who were brought in during like the late 2010s, like Zakari and Sir and Doichi and all these other people. But I remember when it happened because I was still following TDE like pretty close at the time, because I still was interested in a bunch of stuff they were dropping, and I still felt like I still feel like it was kind of their heyday. But at the same time, I remember when he dropped it and he dropped the song "The Soul." I thought it was dope. It caught my attention, and I thought he had a lot of potential. And clearly, a lot of other people did. He re-released a mixtape that he claimed he had already released called "There You Have It," which, in my opinion, I thought that whole project was pretty dope. But at the same time, he released a few projects since then. But over the past 5 years since signing, he hasn't really grown much in popularity. Like he just it kind of seems like he's still kind of in that same boat from when he first signed. So he sat down a few months ago in an interview, like right before he dropped like a newer project. But he sat down in this interview where he spoke about a wide range of things, but he also talked about his frustrations, dealing with the label and some of the stuff that he dealt with or is dealing with behind the scenes. Some of the issues he said he was dealing with was them holding him back from releasing music, him not being able to connect with his label mate SZA because he wanted to collab, but they for whatever reason weren't actually giving him SZA's like number or actually trying to connect them for a song for whatever reason. Also, he wanted to do a collab that he claimed he already had a collab lined up with Lotto and ESTG, but he says that the label just he didn't specify exactly what happened, but basically he said that they kind of sabotaged what he was trying to do, like they didn't help execute it, which I'm assuming what he's implying is they didn't cut the check for whatever Lotto and ESTG wanted to charge for the feature. That's what I'm assuming it boiled down to, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, he says that they basically sabotaged those two features that he was trying to line up that he claimed he already had lined up. But something happened in the middle of this interview that I don't know if I've ever seen before. So TDE's current president, who goes by the name Moosa, who in his IG bio says he does artist development, which I find kind of ironic, but th- that's neither here nor there. We're gonna get to that. Moosa called in the middle of this interview and proceeded to clown Reason for several minutes, which is wild. Like that's crazy to me. Like he called in and he asked the people interviewing him could they name 10 Reason songs, which was clearly meant to clown Reason and to prove that he's not relevant because you knew that they weren't going to be able to name 10 songs. But it was already disrespectful to ask somebody like, "Hey, name one song." But 10 is just ridiculous because you're obviously setting them up for failure. Because 10 songs is just such a massive amount for any artist. Even if you think about some of the biggest artists in history, like if you look at somebody like Drake, right? He's easily the most popular rapper of the past 20 years. But guess what? Even though most people have like heard 10 Drake songs in their life, one way or another, if you walk up to the average person and ask them to name 10 songs, not don't ask them if they've heard 10 songs, but ask them to name 10 songs from Drake off the top of their head, they still might struggle to do it. And Drake is literally a superstar. So asking these co-hosts for this podcast to name 10 Reason songs was just ridiculous. And it was obviously just meant to just violate him, just disrespect him. But while this happened, Reason took it in stride, which I thought was actually pretty. I thought that was pretty respectable. Like he handled it as well as he possibly could have, even though his his label president is calling in to clown him, and the guys interviewing him are literally laughing at him. But I do kind of wish he would have responded differently. Like the easiest comeback would have been to just ask the interviewers right after while they're laughing or whatever. Ask them, okay, you can't name 10 Reason songs. All right, cool. Can you name 10 Zakari songs? Can you name 10 Sir songs? Can you name 10 Isaiah Rashad songs? Can you name 10 Rayvon songs? Like you could go on and on for different artists, different talented artists on TDE who aren't that popular. Who you know what I mean? Like Reason's not the only one struggling to like gain some serious traction and really blow up. Like there's a bunch of artists signed to y'all right now who haven't popped off. Like TDE hasn't successfully popped anybody off in like what it's been like a decade. Like who was really the last person? Like SZA? I mean, Sir's kind of popular. Like all these people I just named, they have somewhat of a following, but they're not like household names either. They're more or less in the same boat as Reason. So calling in to clown Reason specifically just doesn't make sense to me. He then proceeds to he then proceeds to say that Punch didn't even want to sign Reason, and which was completely unnecessary to say that. Like how like you gonna really just expose private information like that? Like basically saying that nobody even wanted you here. He called Reason a substitute teacher, basically in a metaphorical sense, like saying that his place within TDE is kind of like a substitute teacher, basically kind of saying that he almost like doesn't matter or wasn't meant to be here long term or whatever. Like I like that was just too disrespectful. Like everything about this was just wildly disrespectful. And then he also said that talent isn't the only thing he needs to get to make it in this game or whatever, but as Moosa was going on this rant, it's blowing my mind because I'm like, Moosa's not realizing that all the stuff he's clowning Reason on, all the stuff that he's clowning Reason for, is really an indictment on TDE's incompetence. It's really an indictment on him, and it's showing TDE's incompetence. Like he's right. Like it does take a lot more than talent to like blow up and go viral and stuff like that. There's other things that matter. Like for example, like it takes having a label with enough connections to get you featured on every major outlet over and over and over again. Connections to other big artists he can collab with, like Lotto and ESTG, which he claims he had the feature, but y'all like didn't help him actually follow through on it. Like which would have been a big deal, obviously, because it would have helped him get that exposure to a bigger audience. Like it helps on top of talent. It also would help if you had a label with a big budget to pay to get songs featured on radio stations, the same radio stations that are in the back pockets of these labels, or get paid to get featured on like playlists, the same playlists from these streaming services like Spotify that, whether they admit it or not, are in the back pocket of these labels. But and it also takes your team building up a big and consistent social media presence to make that artist seem bigger than what they really are, right? Because most of these artists, if you ever met them, they really aren't like that interested in real life. They're just regular people, but they're being hyped up by the machine. Most of what these labels do for other artists is make them seem bigger than what they actually are by getting them all over the place on social media and on blogs and on radio and on these interviews and on these all these different platforms, these playlists, all these any like getting featured on these really popular gaming streams from these different people, like whatever they can to make the artist seem omnipresent is usually the method they take. And I'm like, Moosa, that's your job. But he's sitting here clowning Reason as if it's all Reason's fault. But I'm like, bro, that's literally your job, bro. Like, if that's not working, that's an indictment on you. You're not good at your job. You know, he Moosa then tried to gaslight Reason by saying that Reason doesn't have motion, but Rayvon does. Which, look, I'm not on the West Coast, but as far as I could tell, Rayvon and Reason are in the same boat. So trying to use Rayvon as like a way of trying to discredit Reason by saying, oh, he got motion, like that's crazy. None of these artists are really none of these artists on TDE right now have a crazy amount of momentum. That like they're still talented. They still got some fans, but they're not. There's nobody on this label that's like just blowing people out of the water and just just setting everything on fire and just like has all this momentum. It's just they're all in the same position as Reason. Like and these artists, while they're talented, they're not creating like some groundbreaking lane that they're starting from scratch or anything like that. Like they're just doing whatever they do, just like Reason's trying to do whatever he does. So why are you targeting Reason specifically? Like it came off like he has a personal problem with Reason. But either way, like as he was continuing on this rant, he also said, as far as like the features were concerned, he said, "What would an ESTG verse like? What would a guest feature do for Reason?" Which to me was probably one of the dumbest questions he asked, or one of the dumbest things he said in this whole thing. You know damn well what feature from a bigger artist would do for Reason. Now, is in the long term, is it the end all be all that would decide if he succeeds or not? No. But as far as like the short to medium term, as far as like the short term right now, it would absolutely help a lot. Of course, it would help a lot. ESTG and Lotto, they have bigger fan bases. A collab with them would, of course, help him because it would expose him to a bigger audience. That audience could help. That could some of the people in that audience could become fans of him. So, like asking that to me was just a dumb question. And then he tried to say that Reason they done help Reason get features from everybody. I'm like, that's cap. He just told you he was trying to get a scissor feature, but y'all won't even let him get in contact with Scissor. Y'all won't give him her contact information. Y'all won't put him in the studio together, and that's literally his label mate. Like y'all are signed to the same label, and the label won't even bother trying to help you get on a song with her, which seems like it would be something easy to do, but for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. Now Reason then as Musa was ranting, Reason asked Musa a simple question. He asked him, did he lie? He asked Musa, Reason asked Musa, did he lie? And Musa in that moment hesitated, which to me that painted a massive picture. That spoke 1,000 words without him having to speak, because you wasn't hesitating when you was clowning Reason. But as soon as he asked you, hey, the accusations that I'm putting out there, are they lies? All of a sudden, you hesitate and then you try to sidestep the question. Like, nah, it's pretty straightforward. You don't want to just admit that he was telling the truth. Like, I'm more inclined to believe Reason's telling the truth just off of that alone. Let alone when you actually think about Reason's situation in the context of TDE's history, like all the story, like Reason's story lines up with the history. Like, think about SZA's situation. People forget SZA spent years complaining over and over about how she was frustrated that they wouldn't let her release any music. Like, they kept getting in the way. She said that. So it's clearly not just Reason that's frustrated about it. And then Moosa tried to say that they not stopping people from releasing music. That's cap. You got reason accusing you of getting in the way of releasing music. You got SZA a few years ago accusing you of getting in the way of her releasing music. Then on top of that, when you look at your roster of artists, a bunch of these people that are signed to you, they drop one album and then coincidentally they all go on like a 5-year hiatus. I really doubt that that's a coincidence. But to me, to get back to the overall point that I just want to drive home, is just it the whole time as what's his name? The whole time as Moosa was going on this rant, mind you, I don't even know reason. I don't have a reason to have his back. I don't really care, but at the same time, it's just the principle of this. Just watching it from a distance, it's low key disgusting to watch. Like it really is. Because you're watching this guy who's running this label sit here and low key put all the blame back on Reason and say, no, it's your fault. If you ain't got motion, it's your fault. Nah, that's not how that shit works. That's not how that works at all. At the end of the day, if he is signed to you, it is your responsibility to get him popping. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have any accountability for his career, but what I am saying is if he's signing to you, in my opinion, when artists sign to labels, at that point, only about more or less 30% of the responsibility to blow up should be on still on that artist's like it should be only 30% of the blame should be on the artist if they don't pop off, in my opinion. Because remember, he's not independent. If he was an independent artist, obviously it's a different conversation and it's 100% on him. But when he signed to you because y'all are selling a dream that he's gonna blow up and y'all gonna put him in all these places and help him get to a next level, get to the next level. Because I guarantee you, when they before they officially signed him, I guarantee you they sold him a dream. I guarantee you they sold him a dream about, hey man, look at this. Look at all these success stories we got. Man, we got Kendrick, we got Schoolboy Q, we got SZA. We could get you on tour with Kendrick. We could get SZA on your songs. I can guarantee you that's the type of the dreams that they were selling him before they got him to sign. So of course it's their responsibility to get him popping. You can't like y'all are the ones who want to keep all the money from the artist. Because I guarantee you they didn't sign him to a favorable deal. They most likely signed him to the standard deal a lot of these labels sign artists to, where they want the artist to sign over 85% of their music. That way the label can profit 85% of whatever, the masters, the publisher, whatever, like just completely sign it over. So guess what? If you want the majority of the money, you absolutely should be responsible of the majority of the work put into towards actually promoting that artist. Like that's crazy to try to say that it's all his fault. So basically you're telling him that in reality, you have no responsibility to actually help him promote himself and become popular. Which goes back to the $1 million question: what's the point of signing? Because that's a dumb business model. Like, hey, we don't want to actually promote you. We don't want to actually invest a whole lot any or a whole lot of money. We don't want to invest really much of any money into you. But if you somehow manage to, we expect you to do 100% of the work yourself. But if you somehow manage to blow up in spite of us not helping you, we then want to take 90% of the money that you generate. Like that's crazy. But that's essentially what they're saying that they want to do. That's essentially what they're showing through their actions that they're trying to do. Because again, I guarantee you, when they signed him or when they signed any artist, not just TDE, but all these labels, when they sign artists, they're not selling them the truth about, hey, we don't plan on actually helping you. You're on your own. And if you still make it in spite of us, we want to take all the money. They're not selling that. Because nobody in their right mind would agree to that. They're selling people a dream as if they're gonna help you become the next star. But I mean, I don't know. Either way, it is what it is. Do you guys still think signing is a good idea? If you listen this late into the video, I appreciate it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below.